Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Guys, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's Measy, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase. And yes, it does come with a fun Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part podcast, you have a new 2000 Honda S2000 selling for $95,000, which is quite a pretty penny to say the least. Now, I know you think, Topping, are you having more of a speaking conundrum than usual or stuttering more than usual? No, I actually did read that correctly. A quote-unquote new 2000 Honda S2000, even though they stopped making it, about, oh my gosh, this makes me feel old, a quarter of a century ago? Jeez Louise, an iconic piece of Honda history, and, I mean, one of the best two-seaters bar none, but someone actually preserved a car for a quarter of a century, or, right about that time, knowing it would go up in value. And truth be told, it did quite a bit. Now, this comes to us thanks to Ronan, who's a writer at thedrive.com, and they say, quote, "This 25-year-old Honda S2000 has never been registered. It just sold for $95,000. This Honda S2000 was stored for decades by an enthusiast who thought it would be nice to have a new old car one day. It shows just 42 miles on the odometer." And yeah, I definitely believe it, because the pictures that come from Broad Arrow Auctions, I mean, it just looks immaculate. When you see a couple of, it's one of those things where I'll window shop if I'm on a conference call, and I'll look at the Honda S2Ks for sale, kind of do a little daydreaming on window shopping, and a good one, unmolested, so no modifications. Those will easily go for $25,000 plus. I really wish I bought them when the market bottomed out, but I didn't have the finances to support it. And yeah, they'll never go. I don't think they'll ever be, again, not financial advice, but I don't think a used Honda S2000 will ever be below $20,000. Unless it has 200 plus thousands miles on the odometer. It's such a fun, iconic car. It's great for everyday driving, great for the track. A little disappointing with the lack of horsepower, but again, it's supposed to be a fun two-seater. It's not meant to go fast a straight line. It's only comes with manual transmission, as every car should be by default. And I've had the privilege of riding in one, and it was so much fun. It goes up to like 9,000 RPM. You get that VTEC, kicking in. It is iconic. And in Honda Business Blender, they haven't made a good one since. They haven't made an S2K since. The only sports car they have now is the Type R Civic, which, again, is pretty cool, but it has 4 doors, pretty big. And apparently going to bring back the Prelude as a hybrid, which is disappointing to say the least. Now, they say, quote, "We haven't nailed down time travel yet, so the best way to buy a like-new 25-year-old car is to browse various auction sites. Putting a low-mileage example of a sought-after car is never cheap. However, the Broad Arrow Auctions just broke a record by selling a 2000 S2K with merely 42 miles on the odometer for $95K. Now, they say, quote, "You've seen this car before if you've been keeping up with the low-mileage S2Ks that pop up for sale. Assigned VIN, well, no one cares about that. It was featured on the Drive in November 2020. It had just 34 miles on the odometer. It was bid at, wow, back then it went up to $61,500 on an auction site Bring a Trailer in 2021 when it had 37 miles on it. Mecum then sold it with 38 miles in July 2022. There was no word of how much the winner paid." You see a couple of the interior pictures, which, that engine bay, you could eat off that engine. You wouldn't, obviously, for sanitary purposes. But it literally is museum quality. It looks so beautiful. Now, this, personally, it's a little disappointing that this one is silver. Just silver cars bore me. It seems like every Porsche is a silver. Every Honda Accord is silver. I don't know. I would love to get an S2K yellow or blue, which are two of the other factory options. The red that's not a bad option either. Now, they say, quote, "We got the car story in 2020 and in both a surprising and pretty straightforward way. Hidi, I'm going to butcher this name, not intentionally, but Hidi Sicroni bought a new S2K finished in red in 2000 and was still driving it daily. When we spoke to her nearly 5 years ago, she quickly decided to spend $32,450 which translated to $60,000 in 2025, on a second new S2K with 24 miles on the clock and kept it in storage. Nice. Thinking it'd be nice to have a new old car someday. She never titled it, keeping it in excellent condition, and it towed it from even towed it from house to house as she moved across the country. She decided to sell it when she ran out of space. In 2020, she told us that she was hoping to get $150,000 out of the car, which was admittedly a little far-fetched, which, yeah, I don't know if it'll ever go for 150. Again, 100 is still an astronomical amount of money. They say the S2K is undeniably cool, and Honda hasn't sold another roadster in the United States since production ended. But is it $95,000 cool? With that money, you could also buy a new 2025 BMW M3 Competition X-Drive with track tires and still have money left over, which, again, no one who's buying a Honda would buy a BMW. It's such a different clientele. It is literally, I was going to say apples to oranges, but sake to, what do they have in Germany for food? Sake compared to one of their big beer brewing brands. I don't know what they are. Foster's, I know, is beer, but that's Australia. Which, fun fact, is different from Austria. For those who were part of the American public school system, might not know that. But yeah, you're not buying it. You're not looking at BMW and looking at Honda, unless you're really weird like me and you want to look at all the stick shift vehicles for sale. But I partially digress. They say you could also get an F-150 Raptor for $81,000, which again, no one's going to buy that in comparison. And they say, quote, but these comparisons are largely besides the point. The market has spoken. Someone really wanted to pay $100,000 for it, which again, as crazy as it sounds, it kind of makes sense. Because as heartbreaking as it sounds, and this is the reality, Honda will never make this car again. They should. They're mentally vacuous for not making it. They're literally leaving money on the table. But Honda won't do it because Honda's a company, just, ever since Soichiro Honda founded the company, they don't take a lot of risk. They have the key cars that they sell, the CRV, you got the Accord, you got the Civic, you got the HRV, they have the Odyssey. They have the 5 core things they sell, and they have a pet project every once in a while, but it's so rare. And they know this market for a fun 2-seater with a little amount of horsepower with a stick shift, which I think is an awesome combo. But realistically, I think the Mazda Miata has a majority of every person who would ever want that type of vehicle. And again, Miata is an iconic track toy and daily driver. It's a great Marvel engineering, great quality vehicle. I think that I always thought Honda was a little bit cooler to having an engine that revs all the way up to like 9,000 plus RPM. It's insanely cool. And yet, Honda decided they're not going to make one for, all these decades later. But I mean, if you want a Honda S2K like new, this is it. And I mean, you look at the ones on cars.com and Auto Trader and the Facebook marketplace. Again, these things are going for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 with a lot of miles. I mean, we're talking 60, 70, 80,000 miles. It's not uncommon to see these go up to 200,000 miles. I mean, it is a darn near bulletproof engine. It's a Honda. That's partially why I love my Honda. They're darn near bulletproof in quality. And it's just a cool time capsule. It is a little sad in terms of this thing will most likely never actually be driven as the engineers intended. It is, in my opinion, it's either going to be a museum piece, or if this is, someone with so much money they don't care about depreciation, they can literally just light the money on fire, relatively speaking, then they'll enjoy it like as a new car and drive it daily. Again, I suspect that probably isn't the case, but it's still cool to see a little piece of Honda history and automotive history that's still got a lot of interest behind it, and it's still astonishing that it sold for $95,000. Plus, don't forget the extortion tax. I mean the sales and registration tax. That puts it well over $100,000 for now it would be considered a vintage Honda. And again, one of these days, I would love to get an S2K, especially the CR edition, which is the last year they made it. They did a couple extra mods to make it more attractive to go to the track, and it is a little bit more track focused. But again, those are going for like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. So like, not in my deck of cards right now, but someday I'd love to get one of those. But let me know, do you remember that Honda S2K? I mean, do you see them on the streets these days? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.